Good day, everybody. I hope that you are well. I hope that life is good. Welcome back to the second series of Holy Men. We are going in. So, it's been a couple of months and this quarantine shit is still upon us. Everyone is still in a state of learning more, not only about themselves, but also about the reality that is happening with us, about what's going on with our environment, our government. There's just so many things happening to keep our attention. But we wanted to just kind of bring it all back together and just remember that it's really all about community, right? We are trying to really understand how to build community right now, how to understand that, yes, we may have different concepts and belief, but together as one whole species, we can actually do some great things. And you see it all the time. You see it in every aspect of the world that you look in. Don't look on media for that because obviously they don't show you that. They show you things that are different. But for the most part, what it comes down to is whenever you really get down into the nitty gritty of who people are, everyone's just trying to be their best self. Everyone's just trying to love and respect the people around them. So, when it comes down to it, hurt people hurt people. And the point is to try to get people to, just not be hurt, right? So this is why we're here. We're here to gather and commune. I like to just welcome no one. Why? Because we're going to switch it up a little bit. We're not only just going to have this conversation, we're not only just going to, chop it up with people, but we want to now just try some things about bringing people on. We want to bring some of the guests, some of the people out there viewing as I pull my comments up. Anybody who is here watching, streaming with us, you have the ability to come on. My back end guy, what he'll do is he'll, get in touch with you guys and send you guys the link via the social media platform. And we can pull you right on screen and have a conversation. But as far as it goes, let's get back to it. Mastermind Connect and Holy Men are bringing you the second series. And this time, we're going to try to talk about some concepts. Not try, we're going to talk about some concepts that really, really, really kind of disrupt the function of our reality right now. It disrupts the function of everything that we know because we've been taught things that are not necessarily true. They come from a mind and a perspective of fear and, just not having enough evidence and enough understanding. And so what am I talking about? Before I get into what I'm talking about, I just wanted to say once again to anybody out there in the ether, thank all of you for joining. Thank you for being a part. We are going to have you come on if you're just joining us now. We're going to go ahead and, speak to you through the comments. We can see everything you're saying. I'm going to ask a question, and then I'm going to show a video about something that goes along with the question. And after that, I want anyone out there to give me your thoughts by either shooting it in the chat, in the text, or you can actually be open to coming on. And that's all you really need is a pretty solid connection and also, obviously, a video camera. But if you do not have a camera, understood, we can do the audio. But if you're on your laptop, then that'd be great. If not, we can figure it out for the stream on your phone. But it's pretty simple. So all you got to do is click, enter, and you're on with me. But with that said, we have been taught things, based on everything that we learned from the last series. We ran through sacred geometry, ego, balance, mindset, masculine, feminine. We went through sacred geometry. We went through so many amazing things, the different types of chemicals in your body. We talked about a plethora of things that most men and communities are not really talking about. And maybe instead of just only talking about sports, we can or finance, we can talk about something that is a little bit more in depth. But with that said, what have we been taught? I've just been curious, right? Being in a mastermind group, it's quite amazing for a lot of reasons. But a lot of times it comes down to being able to challenge not only myself and my thinking, but also take in the understanding of what my brothers are thinking and how they feel about reality and not have any judgment of how they see it, but just support them as a brother. There are many of us at Mastermind and we don't all think the same thing. But what I've learned just by being a part of this organization is really just understanding that I still love my brother, no matter how different we may see things, no matter what conversation may come of it. It's always in love. It's always in respect. And, that's just where we're at. It's just about understanding people's perspective and then letting that be okay, right? Why we got to judge people? Shit, just let them be them. And that is the real thing that I want to get to, is how we as a community are shifting, right? All these shifts. But we have to go back to the things that we've been taught. Now, if you guys know this, alpha male, right? Everyone, I wish I could have like alpha male appear right in front of me. That'd be great. But you guys know about this concept, the alpha male. It was told to us based on a study that was done. And from that study, it showed that the alpha, the apex, the head, the strong, they actually were better, more dominant. They were not beta males, right? But what's really interesting about that is I learned from one of my mastermind brothers through the idea of this young man, or older man now, David L. Meck, who was the author that coined alpha male, because he and his team of scientists were doing the studies on the wolves that were actually in captivity. Now, this shifted a lot of my perspective at the perfect time in my life, because I was really needing to understand how to forgive and let go of this concept of masculinity or manhood. And, what it was taught, it didn't feel right. It didn't feel like this is what manhood was, the hardest, the best. You got to dominate over everyone. Like, what is that? But it comes to a point where David L. Meck literally just came out because they had further evidence of the study of this concept of the alpha male. Now, really quickly, I'm actually going to show you the video of this man saying this, and we're going to talk about that, because what it comes down to, a lot of our issues in our communities have to do with this egotistical idea that only supports us not respecting one another because we need to be the biggest, the baddest, the best. Not real. But check this out, guys. Wait, let me make sure that you guys can actually hear this video, because I know they be tripping with this screen share. Let's try it again. Make sure, stop screen. Thank you for your patience. Yes, audio was not shared. You see what I'm saying? They be playing you. Are you playing you, son? Okay, check it out.
The term alpha isn't really accurate when describing most of the leaders of wolf packs, because the term implies that the wolves fought and competed strongly to get to the top of the pack. In actuality, the way they get there is merely by mating with a member of the opposite sex, producing a bunch of offspring, which are the rest of the pack then, and becoming the natural leaders that way, just like with a pair of humans producing a family. Instead of using the term alpha for a wolf, instead of saying alpha male or alpha female, scientists now tend to call wolves like that the breeding male and the breeding female. And or you can call them the mother wolf and the father wolf. There's really nothing wrong with that. Those are much better and more accurate terms than the term alpha. Actually, I'm very much to blame for the term alpha being used with wolves. I published a book in 1970 that now has over 110,000 copies in circulation, and in that I labeled the top wolf in the pack the alpha. And I did that because at that time, that's all that science knew. But we've learned a lot. That book was published in 1970, and in the 35 years since that time, we've learned an awful lot. One of the things we've learned is that the term alpha is really incorrect when applied to most wolf pack leaders. It's appropriate to use the term alpha in an artificial pack where you might put many wolves from different assemblages together, unrelated wolves and that kind of thing. Then they would form a pecking order or a dominance hierarchy, and you could call the top animal at that point, the alpha. But that rarely happens in the wild, if ever. And so, that would be one case where you could use it. Another case is where you have what we call a complex pack, or a pack with multiple breeders. In Yellowstone, for example, there have been some packs that have had as many as 3 breeding females. And in that case, you can call the top-ranking female, who would usually be the mother, you can call that animal the alpha female. But, looked at in the perspective of wolf packs in general around the world and all, that rarely happens.
So that's crazy. I mean, it's not really crazy. It makes a lot of sense. Now, because we always come with misconcluded evidence, because we always have time to give us our experiments, to prove our experiments that we do as scientists, right? And so we, in our particular culture, have not only adapted this concept, but also survival of the fittest. But when you actually digest Darwin's memoir, An Origin of Man, he says more about cooperation than competition. He speaks more about harmony of nature and how the ecosystem of all these different species working together, because without the group of them, no one can survive. Like if one was extracted, it's going to affect the entire ecosystem. So therefore, we had these concepts kind of twisted and shifted, and then the ego grabbed that shit, right? And the ego is full of fear. So of course it's going to want to compete. Just like David said, it's the fucking mom and dad, man. Like, it wasn't about no competition. It was all about love and family. So we've gotten so far away from community, right? One of the reasons I wanted to show that, because think about how many people have gotten into a fight, murdered, domestic abuse, stealing, what else? Creating division within communities. All these things have happened from the false concepts that we hold strong. And I know there's some men out there right now that you really defined yourself as that alpha, right? And not to say that doesn't have its place, because we'll talk about that in a second, but I wanted to just bring that out. Like, I used to identify as that, right? But once I had to break that down, then suddenly I had to kind of restructure some of my personality and some of the things that I believed in, because now my foundation was crooked. So I just question anyone that may be out there that would like to come on and join. I'm just curious, how do you feel about what David L. Meck said and concluded with his findings? And how does that relate to you, or how does that change even your perspective of how you move forward? Now, because I'm not going to sit here and just wait for the next person, I'm just going to, thank everybody that is in the comments right now. Yeah, that's right. Brooklyn, stand up. I am perfectly tanned. I'm out in the sun. I really do appreciate the comments. So yeah, Rasha stated that, I remember when I saw this and was blown away, yet we still revere the term alpha. Yeah. And that's a real thing. But see, I wanted to just break that down, right? So what does this really mean, right? Like she said, we revere it still, but what does it really mean? I think that it's more about understanding the energy of an alpha, or the energy of the concept of the alpha, that really defines the wolf, right, in the actual pack. So let's just break this down real quick. If the wolf, right, is the alpha, and as he said, is the father, really, then it's not really about competing with the other wolves that are males, because those are his kids. And it's not really about competing with your kids, because they're your kids. So if we have any situation where, let's say, our communities are very diverse and very sporadic, and we do live as many in one situation, obviously you have a unit of a family, but then you have the community around that. So if all the males are at a perspective that I'm competing against every other male in this room, then we automatically show up to the gate on defense, because that's our sympathetic nervous system just simply saying to us, I'm in fear, I am afraid. Now, if you are afraid or in fear, then you're also not in love and in power. So the natural response from that over time is violence, ego stuff. You want what I have. I am not willing to give that type of shit, right? So when it comes down to it, we have to really understand what this means we don't have to remove ourselves from the word alpha. We have to redefine it, because there are some qualities that are there that are very, very valuable. But before we go into that, I just wanted to check in with my man backstage and see if there's any chats or privates coming in so that I can know if someone's going to be jumping in on it with us. And like I said, for you men out there, obviously this is not just for men. We've opened this up so that we can have a group community conversation. But for all the men out there who are watching, if this concept speaks to you and maybe either triggered you to defense, or even possibly opens up something like, whoa, that's crazy, jump on and we can talk about it a little bit. We're actually going to keep this show to about 30 minutes as we're testing out this new theory in this new way. But also because at this point in the day, it's real sunny and lovely. But what it comes down to is I want to just really understand how we as a community, how can we really build more by redefining the concept of what it means to be alpha? And maybe even just take it out as far as a personification and use it just more as like a verb, an action, right? And so let's just think about this. So moving forward, I think this is how we would do this. Now, anybody out there, you can correct me if I'm wrong. Anybody out there, moving forward, we literally have to see the positive qualities within the alpha if we want to keep this term going. Now, let's just discuss some of those. I've wrote some down here. We have a provider, right? If you are the head, you are the provider. Let's even use kingship, right? You're providing the land with resources and materials. So you're a provider. And by providing, you have to just be honest and say that has a lot to do with compassion, right? Compassion and care. I care, so I'm providing. I'm giving my energy to you. So that's sounds like a person who has a lot of emotional intelligence, if you ask me. Now, protector, right? It's also a protector. So if this concept is about protecting, then that's also care. That's love. Because you want to protect and keep your things that you love safe, right? So how did we actually remove a lot of the emotional aspect of this concept away from the man being this concept of the alpha and just have to be like this dominant figure, right? But let's get back to this whole process of what it means to move forward in this concept. So we had provider, we have protector. We also have problem solver, right? So that means that they actually have to critically think. They have to use their brain and have a sort of intelligence and common knowledge to actually understand how to problem solve for the community and for the better of their unit. So they're always in question. Always. Let's move on. A listener. In order to provide, to protect, and to even solve problems, you have to listen. Now, I just have to say, I've heard from a lot of females that men don't listen. Weird. Because here it says, just by understanding the new terminology of this alpha, that you would have to listen, right? You'd have to learn how to listen. Now, a listener is patient. A listener is not only patient, but it gives you its undivided attention. Once again, care. but it also listens with empathy so it can understand how you feel, so it can understand where you are, so it can understand what you're experiencing. Now, empathy and knowing yourself is the way to manage a tribe, because if the mom and dad don't have it together, then that is going to trickle into the family. And then the family is going to then grow and then move on and mate. And then they're going to teach their cubs or their children the things that their mother taught them. Now, let's just say someone threw this curveball of alpha male. Males don't use emotions. Males have to be aggressive. Males can only get angry. What else? Women have to look for a man who is a protector, but yet smacks her in the face. Throw that one out there. And what else? Let's see. He also has to just do what needs to be done and shut up. Boom. So you have all these things, right? And now the woman wants him to just listen to her because she just wants to express herself, and he just can't because he doesn't use that part of his body and he doesn't tune into his emotions. And so he also needs to prove himself to the world. He needs to prove himself to the people that are in his community. And so he is unvalidated at all those points, even though we have a society that makes us believe that if he just has a job and looks good and keeps it together, and then he's fine. He's perfect. But is he? He's not even living to be his true self, because he's not living into the qualities of the concepts of what the alpha would be. So looks like we got to redefine, everybody. It looks like we have to really understand that what it comes down to, in order for us as men to realistically move forward with everything that we're learning and everything that we've been through and going through, we literally have to become emotional intelligent, man. I am grateful to see all these sudden advertisements of these, stars and celebrities talking about emotions as men. Like, men need to talk about this. Like, yeah, word up. Finally, let's get on the boat, homie. Let's go. We already halfway out in the sea. You swam to catch up. And now, come on, we got you. Throw them the life raft. But that's the point. We do need to talk about our emotions. We do. I was speaking to a young brother earlier, just before today, as I'm posting on social media about the same event. He says to me, so I just kind of want a girlfriend, but I really don't. But I do, because there's just some stuff I want to talk about that I can't talk to my boys about. And I'm like, damn, like, that's exactly what I'm talking about tonight, homie. Like, I was like, but ain't that crazy? Like, that you feel you can't even go talk to your boys about some vulnerable stuff because they're going to make fun of you probably, or they're going to just look at you in a way, call you soft. But then you want to go in and get in a relationship when you know you're not ready for one, just to prove or just to express your feelings. Like, this is crazy. But this is reality for a lot of men. This is reality for most men. So now the thing that we need to do is just redefine. Like, we don't have to let go of some of these terms, because at the end of the day, it can serve a person to step into their alpha energy, right? Let's say if you wanted to just get some stuff done. Let's say if you wanted to be in empathy and look after your family. Let's say if you needed to, protect your siblings, whatever. Stepping into that energy of, I am powerful, I am worthy, I am the protector, I am the godship of my body. Period. And this is not something that only lies within the masculine and the male, because there's also now a term from that called alpha female. But once again, it was just mama. So doesn't mean anything. So sisterhood should be more of a thing, right? Stop calling your sisters bitches. Like, I just don't call my brothers names that put us in odds, even if it is like camaraderie, but it has a double entendre meaning. Like, I just don't say it because energetically, it's not. I don't know no bitches. I mean, I know that it's a female dog. I know that much. Like, anatomically, it's literally an animal that has hair on its body, that has, ovaries. That's a dog, female. Like, but it just comes down to us understanding these concepts have really toxified the way that we treat each other. And especially in the Black and Brown Latino community, it is really intense because we always trying to be the hardest. We always trying to be the realest nigga. We always trying to be the toughest in the streets. But that also comes from Massa whooping your ass. And if Massa saw you showing any emotion, he's going to whoop harder. So you have to not cry. You have to be hard. You have to be tough. But we don't live in those days no more, yeah. We don't live in those days no more. So I just wanted to not only bring this full circle, there's just a lot, right? There's just a lot that we're going to really have to break down. And once again, we kept this short today because, we're building up to some things. We're building this up. We want to test out some ideas. We definitely want to keep the flow going with bringing on other brothers, which we will. But as of now, we also want to just involve the community. So for the next couple of episodes, it's going to be fully open to anyone who's out there who wants to join in on the conversation. We'll bring you right in on the stream. You can be all about it, all up in it with your 2 cents. And understanding that what it comes down to is this is how also we build communities and relationships. By just doing stuff together. Right now, this is our option, right? This is what we got. But for all of you that commented, yes, I appreciate you all. And Jamal, peace to you also, my brother. Thank you for joining. I got you on the late end. Sorry. But what it comes down to is just going back over those topics, right? What we discussed in this episode is that the concepts that we have in our reality don't actually match the construct of nature. Nature's in cooperation. Nature is in understanding ecosystem and togetherness. There is no one dominant species, actually. We still think that we're the most dominant species, and yet we are destroying the planet. So how is it that the other animals have been here this whole time and just been fine? So it comes down to us re-understanding or redefining the things that we have within our communities, cultures, and belief systems. The alpha male situation, it's not real. That was mama and daddy. So with that said, we then need to attach different ideas that go along with the alpha that we discussed. But that actually has a backbone of emotional intelligence. You have to use emotions, compassion, empathy, understanding in order to use any of the qualities of the alpha and run a family or a community, period. And with that said, we're going to end this session within the next couple of minutes. But before that, let me just give you a breakdown of what we're leading up to. So we're going to have a couple of more sessions that's going to lead to a workshop. And the workshop is going to be an active workshop where we're going to go on as a group. We're going to not only learn some of the tools that we had in the first season, especially some of that sacred geometry stuff and that spiritual elevation and enlightenment stuff, and really just about understanding how to self-regulate and be self-aware within your own perception and body. That workshop will be coming up. You'll get all the details once we get closer to those dates. We will be setting up a pre-registration. So look out for that as well. But with that, we're going to continue next week, and we're going to really talk about more of these concepts, some of these things that as men and in communities, they only have destroyed instead of actually uplifted what we are doing today. So it's time to redefine. But with that said, I'd like to thank my brother Manny in the background. Of course, Mastermind Connect. If you don't know, mastermindconnect.com. Check it out. Holy men, we are here. We are trying our best to be whole so that we can heal. And that is all men. At this point, it is all men. If you walk this earth and you have 2 testicles and you identify as a man, then hey, you too. With that said, much love. I will speak and see you next Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Love you all. Can't wait to have another conversation with you guys. All right. Peace.